Okay, welcome back to the Atmospheric Cafeteria. And I have had Doolin-Daltons in my head now for 2 days. Now listen, I love the Eagles. I love the Eagles. It's my favorite song, other than Best of Your Love. Best of Your Love, Doolin-Daltons. My God, Doolin-Daltons just makes me happy. But then I love me a good cowboy movie. I love me, oh my God, do you know how many times I've seen Young Guns? Seriously, like now. Being told to start with these. Okay, so I have had this song going through my head, and I think that we need to have a song skry because it's the same words over and over again, and keep being given like this odd history of this song. Now, I have this feeling that a lot of the people in my group may just be men. A lot of the readings that come up are for men. Now, mind you, as everyone says, and this is the truth, that tarot is unisex. It is not male, it is not female. It is on its own extraordinarily non-binary, simply because we always go between the masculine and the feminine, and they often merge within ourselves, because at the end of the day, the true form on the other side is a soul put together with two. You know, it's two in trine. Trine, what is that? We'll figure that one out later. So, yeah, so I have the lyrics here. I pulled them up. So this is a song about outlaws, right? This is a song about someone who went out west, because we have the words, the towns lay out across the dusty plains, like graveyards filled with tombstones, waiting for the names, because they're all out west. They're all dusty, and all of these towns, you know, they sprung up here, they sprung up there, they sprung up here, they sprung out there. They just kind of sprung everywhere, right? And what Spirit is showing me is this period of time. I feel like I have to be like loud right now. I'm not sure why that is. But, and yes, I have my mirror off to the side. She's sneaking out. She's sneaking out a little bit here to lend us some inspo. What I really think is interesting is, as I look into the camera, I see this like patch of like white right here, this beam of light, and it's almost like it's saying, you know, there was a choice between the light and the dark. I literally, it is 2:30 in the morning. I should be making dinner. Actually, I should be getting my sleep schedule back to order, but you know, life is what it is, isn't it? Yes, and I am doing exactly, you are doing exactly what you are supposed to be doing in the space and time you are supposed to be doing it at 2:30 in the morning. So yeah, that that's just Spirit. So now my hand is itchy. That's funny. I love you too, Spirit. Now my head's itchy. All right, so at the end of the day, guys, what I keep hearing is the song just repetitively. And like I said, I love this song. I'm neurodivergent. So you know how you get on that like neurodivergent kick where you just play the same song repetitively and you just put it on repeat and you listen to it for 6 hours because you're okay with it, and then all of a sudden you change it over to another song and then you go through the rest of your list. Okay. Because eventually you feel guilty for like not letting the other songs have a chance, and you know, at some point this must be ad nauseum, but you know you could listen to it for another 6 hours. I'm just saying. So that is for me, Doolin-Dalton. But right now, it is giving me a headache. So I thought I would share my headache with y'all. So go down, Bill Dutt. Must be God's will. Two brothers lying dead in Coffeeville. Two voices call from you, from where they stood. It's no good enough. So Wow, we got me doing cards different. All right. So basically what Spirit shows me is the Civil War. Okay, you have the war against the North and the South. Northern aggression, Southern whatever. It doesn't really matter at this point. As a Northern girl, we are aggressive. And it's not that we're aggressive, we just aren't nice. We just don't have niceties all the time. And it doesn't matter really where you go up north because it's cold and we don't have time for niceties because it's -10 and we need to get into the store and we don't feel like talking, right? So really and truly that is a lot what it comes down to. And in the South there's a lot of sir and ma'ams. And I will be very honest with you, if you come up north, especially in New York State, do not sir and ma'am. We will tear you apart. It is just, we just, trust me, just don't. I know you think it's a sign of respect, but up here it ends up being a sign of disrespect because when little kids get in trouble and they do the ma'am and sir, they're told, no, my name is not ma'am, my name is mom, because we were forced to identify the person in front of us. And that was something that I've been thinking about too, the homogenous of ma'am and sir, how it's just kind of a blank canvas where if you have to identify the person in front of you who is telling you, you know, identifying them gives more of a relationship of, you know, my mom is mad at me. And I need to really think about this. You know, it's, and I'm not saying that to mean that people in the South don't do that. I'm saying it's an odd dynamic, and that's what I'm being shown, is this different odd dynamic. Even the difference between the sweet tea and the tea up here. I mean, we do drink sweet tea up here. It's just often it's got lemon in it, or it's not as sweet. And there is no salt on sweet tea because I love me some sweet tea. But they're showing me this difference. And then they showed me how, yes, it was North against South. Yes, it was brother against brother because it was the same 13 colonies. And then they showed me, yes, but at some point there were people in the South who didn't agree with this. And they left the South to go up north. And at some point, two brothers saw each other face to face. And either one brother shot the other brother, or they ignored each other, or peace on some level was made. Like, this is what I'm being shown. And I'm being told that after this trauma, after this tragedy on East Coast soil, okay? Because it is the soil of the East Coast. Like if you can feel a lot of energetic shifts, and you come like upstate New York, Gettysburg, all through the South, you will pick up a lot. There are a lot of spirits. There are a lot of spirits that still think they're fighting a war. There are a lot of spirits that are scared to cross over still. And you know, because crossing over is very scary. It's a giant white light. And when you die, sometimes when you die suddenly, you get confused. And sometimes there isn't a guide to guide you over, and what you do see is kind of scary. And often those spirits will come to me in my house. I'm like, what is this? And then we're crossing people over. This is not abnormal. It is not the first time I have done it. Do not send your spirits to me. Thank you very much. They will not be received. I don't know why I needed to say that, but I felt that I did. So they're showing me this. They're showing me this. They're showing me the Civil War in the United States, and it was brother against brother, and the differences were there. And after this was done, the people leaving who couldn't take the fact that they lost, the people who then went into politics and did whatever, and then you had the people who were left over. You had the people who were confused. You had the people who were so traumatized on the land that they were on, and I am being shown a person who just starts walking out west, and they just keep going. And that's the part where and the town spread out along the dusty plains, like my whole dyslexia decided to kick in there, like graveyards filled with tombstones waiting for their names. Like, the more this person walked away, because you've got to remember the East Coast is very flowery, it's very floral, there's lots of trees, not that there isn't as you go out, but I'm saying there's a lot of this here. So as you're walking away from this, you're going, into a desert that you're not prepared for. You're going into a desert where, yes, you have no power because you've never seen this before. And they're showing me this person who has been in this war. Now, they're showing me a civil war. This might actually, and I'm being told to clarify this could be somebody who has been at war now. Like I say, I get, for some reason, a lot of masculines, and I'm being told okay, well, that would make sense. It's not that I have sympathy for men, it's that I refuse to look at everything from one perspective. I am a woman. I can look at things from a woman's perspective, but sometimes I need to step back and ask, well, how would a guy feel about that? What if a guy did this? And I have to step back and do that so that I can realize that we're all the same. It's just there are really bad groups of humans. And in what I'm being shown the fact that these aren't bad people. It's just there are bad groups of humans. And once everybody has abandoned everybody, once slavery was over, once the plantation masters and the rich people left or went and did their thing, all of these other people were left abandoned. Now, these are people, like, in modern times, what do we know? We know that after a war, what do we have? We have PTSD. We're going to have CPTSD. We're going to have massive mental health issues. We're going to have massive dysregulation. We're going to have people having hallucinations. We are going to have people who during a thunderstorm are going to be freaking out and screaming and crying because they can't tolerate the sound. My own poor dog, Ernie, he can't stand thunderstorms. And he cannot do fireworks. Like we huddle all night, the air conditioner's on, I put the TV on loud, and luckily we're it's loud, but like that stuff will cover it, and then he'll come and sit next to me, we cover up in a blanket. But like one of the influencers who has Yuki, her dog, they can't get away from it. Like, she tries, but like it is literally setting off the car alarms. No fireworks needs to be that loud. And I love fireworks, don't get me wrong. But, so there's this whole PTSD around this, right? So they're showing me that there were people who just couldn't be on their land anymore. They couldn't live in the north. They couldn't live in the south. There had been too much trauma on their own soil. So they started to move out west. And the more they traveled and the more they left, I'm being told it's like they became numb. It's like the further they got away, they became numb. Like, because they're showing me, you start with lots of trees and greenery, and then, you're in field, country, flat land, and yeah, there's trees and that kind of stuff. But then all of a sudden there's desert and there's nothing. And it's like once they saw the desert, they were like, oh, and then all of a sudden partway through they became numb. This may make sense to somebody who has been at war recently. It's like the sand itself, the desert itself, the loneliness, the sun, the nothingness, the they're telling me like not even any cell signal makes this such a desolate place that you almost lose your mind. uh like like I'm being shown men that just get stationed at the desert, in the desert, with like no cell signal. Like it like for 13 days. I don't understand what that is for 13 days. um 13 days in the desert with no cell signal. Okay, you let me know what that is. I have no idea. Thank you. I love you. What? Okay, no idea. Um, that was interesting. Oh, I receive into this hand. If you're wondering, remember, the left hand isn't the devil's hand. It is the divine hand. The divine puts their hand in your hand, and you can feel the energy coming into you. You can also feel it with the right hand, but for me, my right hand is more my healing hand. It's much stronger. So I don't know who needed to know that, but there you are. Take that as it resonates to your soul, brother. Good Lord. Oh my good Lord. I swear to God. Anywho. Okay. So I got chocolate everywhere. Alright, that's alright though. As we all know how I like my chocolate in my coffee. And for those wondering, I actually use the chocolate in my coffee as a daily sweet. So I count it in as a daily sweet. If somebody needs to know that, it doesn't mean I don't eat other sweets. It just, I like to, because I'm very, I really like sugar, so. So that's what they're showing me. They're showing me as this man went from into nature, into the desert, he just absolutely dissolved. Now, part of this song that kept sticking out to me was a man could use his back or use his brains, but some just went stir crazy, Lord, 'cause nothing ever changed. And it was that part, 'cause nothing ever changed. It was like as they went out west, as they went into the desert, they saw where whatever society was before, whatever society is now, whatever society currently is here, nothing has changed. Whatever they were fighting for, nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. Some just went stir crazy, Lord, because nothing ever changed. And I'm being shown, it was like almost within the leaves there was this wonderment, and then they went into the desert where everything became, I don't understand this. Like, maybe if you do, you let me know if it resonates to you. But like, they're showing me that going from this beautiful greenery with the sun in it that would go through the leaves, you know, it's almost like going from innocence into understanding of the most horrific parts of the human behavior, which would make sense in everything I'm saying here. And they're saying when he got to the desert, that's when everything stopped. Like he was numbing on the way to the desert, but once the desert was there, it was like the nothingness was numbing. I'm also being shown somebody who is alone, because I asked, you know, would that be like somebody being alone and not having anybody around them, and I'm being told yes. Till Bill Doolin met Bill Dalton. He was working cheap, just biding time. Then he laughed and said, I'm going. And so he left that peaceful life behind. And what I'm being told, and basically what I'm being shown, is that it's something like he was numb from the war. He left his homeland, not his home, he left his homeland. I'm saying homeland for a reason. I'm going to go with it. He left his homeland or his state or his where continent, wherever he was. And he went and he started walking, because I'm not being shown somebody who has a ride. I'm not being shown someone who has a horse. I'm being shown someone, and I'm literally being told the words hoofing it. He's hoofing it out west. He is, it's like he wakes up one day, he puts on his clothes, and he looks around him and there's nothing. And he just, like, I want to almost say he leaves everything. Like, I don't even think this is a plan. It's just he leaves and he starts walking down the road, and he just goes. He just goes. And he takes odd jobs as he goes. And once he sees the desert, that's when the full complete numbness takes in. And it's at this point is when, like it's saying, you're seeing the town spread out, but there's like almost no humans there, so there's no contact, so you're going even number, because it's a form of isolation, right? So now you're going even deeper into isolation. You were already isolating yourself in the state or the county or the city or wherever where the war took place, because the war took place and you went home, but there was still war at your home, right? So your home is still disheveled, even if maybe your home was destroyed, maybe it wasn't, but who is to say? Either way, you have now isolated yourself from the town where you live, in your city and state, and you have now gone out west, and now you're in the desert, and now it's almost like a danger zone, because now you're even more isolated, because there are fewer towns. It's like a graveyard here, you know what I'm saying? So it's like you're doing odd jobs, you're breaking your back, you're just biding time, and you're just sitting there, and little by little, you're just going insane from the isolation. It's like you're turning into the Joker. And then one day you look at a guy and he looks at you, and the two of you are looking at each other, and I'm being shown two men who understand. I may be speaking to two men watching this together or listening to this, I don't want to say that like one sends it to the other, but it's like they both listen to it and then say, hey, did you hear this? Okay, so take that how it resonates. But it's like these two men see each other and they see the pain. They both did the same thing. They both were in the war. They both were numb. They both left their states. They both walked out west. They both just walk to get away from the pain. And they thought that by doing that, they would get rid of the pain. Instead, they found a different form of insanity. Now, I'm not saying everything on the East Coast would have been good for them, even if they had had therapy, because let's face it, that was a whole East Coast war, and that's devastating. And it really messed a lot of people up, but maybe staying someplace more in Minnesota would have been better, but then too, you've got trees, you've got grass, maybe that, was triggering and causing PTSD, because you never know what's going to be a trigger to somebody. You never know what's going to bring back a memory, because it can be something small and you don't realize it because it doesn't mean anything to you, That's why one of the things I always say is this is kind of controversial. Breastfeeding can actually be a trigger because it plays with your brain, because it mixes with the stranger danger thing, and you're going, oh my God, that's a danger, but oh my God, how beautiful. And because your brain can't functionally deal with both, it just explodes. And I hate breastfeeding. And that's why that is. That's why the boob hats actually are very triggering. You don't realize it. You don't realize it. And it's actually a very excellent chance that the person observing who's being triggered doesn't realize that's the trigger. Because sometimes, I'm being told that sometimes even we don't understand what the triggers are. So, maybe somebody is trying to settle down in Minnesota, but they can't because there's too much grass, there are too many leaves, there are too many things that remind them of where they're from, you know? And they can't necessarily go up north because maybe it's just too cold, and if we're talking Civil War time, you might not be prepared for that, you know? Because it is, it is cold up here. Like, I'm not kidding when I say, you know, don't wear a winter jacket for fashion here. Just wear a winter jacket for warmth, and preferably a down jacket feathered all the way down to the ground. That's my biggest recommendation, because it is important to be warm up here. Oof, this is taken somewhere. But, you know, that's what they're showing me. They're showing me two people who, when they looked at each other, they understood. They're showing me two people who, it's not like they were getting drunk. And I mean, obviously the song is different, but this is what I'm being shown. You know, they're not getting drunk. They're just talking, and they're trying to figure it out. And then they get set off, and bam, bam. I feel like I'm giving a warning to someone, so you take this how it resonates for you. If you're having some PTSD, you know, go ahead and get some help. I'm telling you right now, I've been to BetterHelp. It's wonderful. And I will tell everybody what I liked about BetterHelp. And everybody has their experiences, but I could have an appointment once a week with my therapist. I could contact them every day through text. If I was having a bad moment, I could, you know, send a message. There was an area there where I could write down my thoughts and my notes. And if I wanted to, I could send that diary I was doing, like however much of that I wanted to my therapist. They didn't get to automatically look at it. I could give them permission to look at whatever I had written on that day or whatever. It's just all around, it was nice to have something at home and somebody that, like, I could say, hey, this is how I'm feeling, is this normal? Or I'm feeling like this, I'm kind of depressed, and then have someone go, okay, well, this makes sense, and then, you know, talk through it. It was really nice, but it is really intensive, and you have to be ready. And I'm being shown that, like, I'm sorry, this keeps moving. Like, back in the day, there's no way they would ever have had therapy for this, but I'm also being shown that these are two guys that are getting together who may even go into therapy together. Be careful that you're not, you know, be careful. Because like I said, you don't know what's going to set you off. You might be out, you might hear a horn honking. I'm also being told if you carry a gun, maybe not carry a gun anymore, because I'm being told something about there might be some PTSD that occurs, and you might, without, like, because you know with PTSD you can, like, if you get caught in the PTSD and the hallucination and your hands are working, you can take your gun and shoot someone and because your brain is gone. That I'm warning you about. They're directly warning me about that. So take that how it resonates. And they're also saying that might not be for you, that might be for a friend. You might be, okay, yeah, all right. I'm also being told you might be the friend who is witnessing your friend starting to have a bit of a PTSD breakdown. I'm actually being shown two servicemen that may be friends, and one is noticing. So if you're noticing that, kind of like run over to your friend's house and take his guns, and just let him know he's all right, he's okay, and that if you need to do his dishes, to let him know. Just those little things, because sometimes when you're starting to go through something like that, hi Uncle Tommy. My Uncle Tommy is telling me that sometimes just the act of going over there and doing someone's dishes is enough company to make you feel better for the rest of the night. Sometimes it doesn't take much. It just takes like a little phone call. He doesn't know texting, but he's showing me a text. He's like, yeah, even that texting thing. My Uncle Tommy's wonderful. He went to Vietnam. I understand PTSD because of a conversation he had with my grandfather that my mom told me about. And my Uncle Tommy said, okay, I'm just gonna go, okay, fine. My Uncle Tommy was sitting in the kitchen with my grandfather, and my mom told me the story. My mom was a nurse. She's an RN. And she had a very good friend, Nancy Churchill, who actually went to Vietnam too and was a nurse there and had PTSD. And she and my uncle went to a support group together. I love them both so very dearly. They're two of my most beloved people in my life. And my grandfather and my uncle were talking, and my uncle said, well, Uncle Rail, you know what it is that I'm sitting here and I'm with you. I know I'm with you. But outside the window, because my grandfather was sitting in front of a window, as a picture window, and he said, but Uncle Rail, outside all I see are bombs and palm trees. And you know, understanding that and then going over to your friends and making sure that, you know, they understand where they are can be really important. I'm being told this is really, really important, that, you know, just check on your friend. You know, if this means you're just taking some of their laundry down to the laundrette, great, do that. If this means, you know, you're coming over and you're cooking a meal and you're doing some dishes and you're doing a little sweeping to help them not feel defeated because they're struggling at doing that stuff, because at the end of the day, when you get into PTSD or you start getting depressed and dysregulated, and you start to slow down, you don't always have the dopamine and the stamina. And this is with ADHD as well. You don't have that dopamine or stamina to stand there and do those dishes because it's so hard to physically function in your own body. It's like being a stone statue in your own body. I know I need to get up and do that, but I can't. But when somebody comes over and does that for you, even those little things, it's like it's like a boost to your immune system, and it helps you recover quicker. People may not understand that, people may not necessarily see that, but you internally do, because when you go to your kitchen and you go to get a cup, you can just get that cup of coffee knowing that all of these dishes are done and put away. And that tonight, after you have this cup of coffee, maybe we can get this cup cleaned. And you know what? It doesn't have to be dried right now. It can go on the rack. You know, and my thing I do when I get into like my ADHD episodes where it gets really, really difficult to do these things, and I have protracted withdrawal symptoms, so it can get to a point where I just can't stand for long periods of time, and I get tired easy. So wow, that's a confession right there. So I don't know who needed to know that. You're not alone. You are not alone, my friend. Vitamin E is very helpful. Vitamin E is very helpful. But you can get very, very tired. So sometimes all you have time to do is that one cup, or the energy to do is that one cup. I have a friend who always says, you know, try to do 5 things, five dishes, and that helps a lot, because then you're always doing a little bit, so you're always achieving a little bit. Another thing that I personally do is my rule is, when I get like this, whatever dishes I have washed are the dishes I use, and I can't take any more out of the cupboard, because when I take more out of the cupboard, that creates more dishes, that creates more depression, that creates more anxiety. And I know when I'm getting bad when I'm taking stuff out of the cupboards. So I can, you know, once you realize that, you can go, okay, I need to bring myself back down. But when you have PTSD from war, it is much harder. And everybody's PTSD is different. Everybody, the way they handle it is different. My PTSD is very different from everybody else's, you know, and I was not in war. So, you see what I'm saying? So I'm just... They're like, you're covering the bases. And I'm like, yeah, because everybody is different and individual. You know, everybody has their way of stepping back and doing something. Everybody, you know... Everybody is different, and we have to remember that. And that seems to be this really, really big overarching thing, is that everybody is different, I'm being told. So that is, there's something else. I'm being told it was almost like if you could get between the desert, it was like if you could get to California, you were okay. Your brain had a chance to settle down because it was on a different side of the coast. I'm being told if Bill Dalton had just kept walking to California, to the other coast, he would have found the healing, solace, serenity he needed. So maybe someone needs to go to the ocean and not dunk your head in, but like find the healing that the ocean and the water bring, the sounds. Maybe you just need to be by a body of water and hear the seagulls. I'm being told there's something about listening to the seagulls and sitting in the sand and hearing the ocean that is very regulating. And you know, they do have, you know, the apps and whatnot, so maybe that would help too, but so there's this part in the song where it says, some just went stir crazy, Lord, 'cause nothing ever changed till Bill Doolin. Is it till Bill Doolin met Bill Dalton? He was working cheap and just biding time. Till Bill Doolin met Bill Dalton. He was working cheap and biding time. So, you know, a couple of the things, because this is technically a song scribe, because I'm just putting pieces together that are standing out to me. And one of the things that really stands out to me is some just went stir crazy, Lord, because nothing ever changed till Bill Doolin met Bill Dalton. They're telling me, well, obviously in the song it means that, you know, Bill Doolin met Bill Dalton and they saw each other and realized, oh, and became outlaws. This is really showing me, you know, a Bill Doolin meeting a Bill Dalton and recognizing the same pain inside of him. And one person's pain is greater than the other. And it's not that there's a measure on this pain. It's just one person is a little bit more healed than the other. And the healed person notices this greater pain in this person. That is what I meant to say. And this person is here to help him, help this person. This person who has started healing themselves. They're not perfect. They're not perfect. They're still really in the beginning stages of healing, but they're seeing this person and you know, some just went stir crazy, Lord, because nothing ever changed till Bill Doolin met Bill Dalton. Until you met this person, and now this person is saying, you're not crazy. You're right, nothing changed. We came all the way out west. We walked through Texas, and what did we see? Slavery. You're right, nothing ever changed. But rather than becoming outlaws, it feels like these two men are talking And the man who is a little bit more healed notices this giant pain within the other man, and he looks at him and says, yes, you're right, nothing ever changed, but this is how we make the change happen. This is how we come together, we make the change, and in making this change, we heal ourselves. We have to start healing ourselves, because once we start healing ourselves, that's how we can enact the change. I'm also being shown, like what they say when you go on an airplane, you've got to put your own, I'm getting a really cold breeze over here right now. When you get on the airplane and they give you the directions of you've got to put your own mask on first, because you cannot help the person next to you if you can't breathe. So it's like this person who's already started breathing and they've already started healing, and they've met this other person and they're noticing this person needs to get their mask on so that they can breathe better and they get more oxygen. I'm being told that they're going to help this person put their mask on. This person's going to help you do this. You know, and I'm also being told that this may be a person that's only in your life for a very short period of time, and this is kind of like a sometimes briefly people come in to spread a little angelicness around, and they may not even realize they're doing it, but it's like a conversation. You're at the bar, you're starting to get drunk because you're depressed, because you're starting to have PTSD. Another guy comes in, he's sitting down with a beer, and you're talking, and somehow you two are at the same table and you're talking, and this guy that's a little bit more healed says something to you, and he knows when he says that, because he's supposed to be there by divine guidance, that when he says this to you, this spark will help you. And then when he leaves, you never see him again, but then you go home and you realize, okay, I can't drink like this. You wake up the next morning and you're like, okay, I can't drink like this. I just feel sadder, and I don't want to feel sad anymore. So what do I have to do to take care of that? Well, I have to go here, and I've got to go to the doctor. You know, men do not take Wellbutrin or Zoloft. And the reason why I'm telling you this is because men have a really bad reaction on both of them. If you don't believe me, ask a chemist in England. They do not prescribe it to men in England, and Wellbutrin is outlawed in England. It has a high anger rate in men, and it has a very high anger rate. It makes men angry, and because I have been through this myself, not with me, but with somebody I love dearly, and it makes them extraordinarily depressed and anxious. And because of what some of the Zoloft does to the body, it makes men extraordinarily depressed and anxious. And when you add the two together, it creates this anxious, depressive aggression that can lead a man to a very bad spot. So if you are on this medication and you feel that way, just, go to your doctor and talk to them. Fluoxetine is a beautiful little medication. I think Prozac is wonderful. I was on it. It was wonderful. Obviously, I can't recommend you medication because I am not a doctor. However, I do know what I've seen. I do know what I have experienced, and I do have friends in England who are chemists. So, and I'm actually being told to give you that, because if it works for you, that makes me really happy. But if it's not, or if you get on it and you find you're having these symptoms, just ask for something different. Effexor is addictive. I don't know why I'm saying that. So, just be careful. But that's what I feel like. It feels, I'm being told it's like, so this could be somebody who is a friend who comes and helps and takes care of you for a long period of time. This could be somebody that you randomly meet and you have an ice cream, whether you have a drink at the bar and this person says something and then they go off. It's like angelic wings that just swoop down, talk to somebody, and then go off, and then you're just affected by that person for the rest of your life. And that is divine intention. I was just told divine intention. Hold on, I gotta write that down. Wrong slide. Oh, excuse me, pardon me. I do not know where the French is coming from, because I don't know. Anyway, I know about as much French as Miss Piggy taught me. But okay, Spirit, we covered that one. They keep repeating, some just went stir crazy Lord, because nothing ever changed. So if you're watching this and you feel like nothing is changing, I want you to know I want you to step back and ask what's not changing. I want you to, I'm sorry about any chocolate that is all over my hands that I did not realize is on the side of my cubby, and I didn't have time to get up and wash my hands because Spirit is just here. I want you to step back and ask yourself, what hasn't changed? What hasn't changed in your life? And can you change it? Can you affect change? And on what level can you affect change? If you can't affect big change in your life, can you affect little change in your life? Little change affecting your life can be as much as putting your shoes by the door when you take them off. You come in, you take your shoes off, you put them by the door. That's small change. Change doesn't have to be graphically huge. It just has to be. And no one has to always see it. You can see it and be proud, because you should be proud of yourself for any change that you make that is good and worthwhile and helps you to grow into a better human. So ask yourself what's not changing in your life. What is not changing around you, and once you do that, then you can dive into, what isn't changing in the world. How do these things need to be changed? Now, don't obsess on it to the point that, this is now your new obsession and now you just can't function because you just see, everything that hasn't changed, because at the end of the day, things have changed. It's 2025 and people can be gay and trans and be out. In 2005, that wasn't as prevalent, but it was starting. And in 1990, 35 years ago, that just wasn't a thing. It was starting, though. So change does happen, but change is slow. And often the slowness of change is one of the hardest things to accept. And then he left that peaceful life behind. Yeah, they don't want you to leave a peaceful life behind, but you've also got to remember you've got to have peace and civility. You have to have civility and peace. People think that peace means everybody gets along. It doesn't mean that everybody gets along. It just means, and it does not mean agreeing to disagreeing, because agreeing to disagreeing is gaslighting, because that just hides what the truth is, because you just don't want to hear it, because you have to agree to disagree. Yes. Yeah. So, it unbalances and turns up the world. But I forgot what I was saying there for a second. I literally forgot what I was saying. That's okay. It'll come back. If it comes back, I will be there. So yeah, ask yourself what do you need to change? How can you affect the change in your life? And I'm being told you want to affect that change in a way where you're not harming other people, because like the whole point of change is to make it so less people are harmed. And by doing that, you can't lord over someone and control everything. You have to, on some level, allow things around you to set the rules. Because at the end of the day, there's a core to what is decent and there's a core to what is not decent. And everybody knows the difference between the two. And there doesn't technically have to be laws about what is good to do. We do just naturally do it, but sometimes people need reminders, and that's perfectly okay. Woof. No idea. Sometimes spirit talks and then no idea. Okay, Spirit, let's toss a couple times. Where are we? Oh, we're at 51 minutes. Okay. Grab a sip of coffee, and we're going to toss a couple cards on this. What would Picard do? Always a good question. What would Picard do? Well, you know, there was that episode where Picard had to go down with two warring factions, and they had to set up a table so that they could have these two people come together and talk it out. And you guys can tell me if I'm wrong or right, but I believe it was this thing where we were having these talks until they were talked out. Like what would Picard do? How would he handle that situation? Yeah, because a man can use his back or use his brains. You know, you can either work and forget, or you can use your brains. You can learn and you can effectuate change. You know, what would Picard do? Well, Picard would say, let's effectuate change. Let's... Those were the two cards on the split deck. We've got the Four of Swords in the World. And the World herself has batons in it, in her hands, almost like she has her own swords. Almost like she has her own way to defend herself. Even though there's a whole wreath around her, even though there's a lion and a bull, she has her own way to defend herself. But at the end of the day, at the end of the day, you have to sit with this heartache, and you have to bring yourself back down to your younger self, and you have to be very stern and very forward in your movement and thinking as you are laying in your Four of Swords. And when you're laying in your Four of Swords, it's almost like you're in the Hermit. As a matter of fact, I think the Hermit came out in one of them. So you have to lay in this Four of Swords, and this Four of Swords is like, it's not the Nine of Swords where you're laying there crying and in sorrow to the point where you can't function. It's, I'm numb. and I'm going to feel emotion any day. And you know, I've got this one sword under me, I've got these 3 swords over me, I've got this thing here in case I need to, you know, open up the window, and I'm just gonna lay here and I'm contemplating, and I'm resting in stillness. I'm not be grieved. I'm not the 10 of swords where I feel like I've been stabbed in the back. You know, I've got my swords hanging up here. They're perfectly mounted. They can't even fall on me anymore. But I do have to sit in this point of reflection, because when I sit in this point of reflection, I end up with the world. And you see the batons in the hands of the world. That's like having swords. That's having protection. But that's knowledge. You don't have to have a sword anymore to cut off their heads. Don't do that. To fight with. You don't have to have the swords to fight with anymore. You have the batons, and the batons have knowledge inside of them, and whatever you need, it's there. You don't have to fight anymore. And I think that's one of the things they're telling me we've got to get across to you, is you don't have to fight anymore. You don't have to fight this anymore. You can walk away, and you can go out west, and you can settle down, and you don't have to be numb in the sand. You don't have to be numb. Something just pushed me forward. You don't have to be numb. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to. Yeah, you can ride into victory. You literally. I'm just putting them the right way they look to my dyslexia. Thank you. I know it sounds silly. Okay. My dyslexia says that this sword should be over here. So we're gonna just pretend it's going that way. God. Because I feel like this should be pointing this way, because we're walking into victory as we've got our sword to cut the bullshit. Because, you know, see, we've got our one sword up here. And once you get this one sword, you know, you're good and you're gold and you're going up. It's important to keep marching through that desert. It's important to get to California and the other side. And that doesn't mean in the literal sense. It means to the other coast of from where you were. The other coast from trauma. Now, also, let's remember, this doesn't mean that you pack your stuff up today and move. Oh, hello, little ladybug. We have a beautiful ladybug with us. It doesn't mean that we pack our stuff up today and we leave. I had this discussion with a very dear friend about how when you move to like another state, whatever, this, that, or the other thing, excuse me, you have to make sure that you're not running away from your trauma. So like if you decide, you know what, I'm gonna move from New York State to Chicago. Why? Do you have a job there? No, I'm just running over there. I'm just gonna go there. I'm just gonna find a job when I get there. Really? What are you running away from? Well, I just don't like living here. You have to understand why you're doing that. You have to understand that you basically what it is wherever you are, you have to heal first. And you don't have to fully heal. You just have to heal enough to understand that when you move, a lot of the unhealed stuff is going to come up again. And people who move when they're not healed enough end up getting to the point, getting to the new destination, and then after 3 months, everything they were running from comes back to them. And that is the point they're telling me of sitting in your Four of Swords. I mean, because we're all going to sit in our Nine of Swords. We're all going to do that at some point. But sitting in your Nine of Swords is where we feel our emotion, where we come to terms with the pain and the loss and the grief of whatever it is. And eventually that Nine of Swords turns upside down, and it will go into the Four of Swords, so that you're just resting in those emotions, and not resting where you're festering, but resting where you're letting the wound heal in whatever way you need it to heal, because there is no set way of healing. It's how you need to heal. And that doesn't mean that you're doing absolutely horrific things. It just means that you're not internalizing. You're going internally, you're examining what you need to, you're getting the rest that you need to, because you know your brain needs to heal too. And doing all of that will bring you into victory. It will help you as you're going into victory cut through everything else. Yeah, and then you see, it brings you the forward movement you're looking for. The one to rule them all, whoever that's for. That's the one under that one. Yeah, manna from heaven. Okay, guys, we are so not doing that. Thank you, but no. Don't mind me. I have OCD. Yeah, I know you guys know. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah. So, yeah. Yeah. Nine of Swords. Because being in this Nine of Swords like this makes you feel your pain. It makes you sit there and accept and go through the motions. And eventually this should turn like this, so that those swords are falling away, which will then bring a change. A change. Now, often these are not necessarily changes we want, but they're changes. And they're changes that turn us upside down. And they're changes that will make us less strong in the moment. But then you will become stronger, because what card did I say? The Hermit. So basically the Hermit and the Four of Swords right here are representing pretty much the same thing, which is laying in stasis and learning and growing and coming to terms with whatever it is that you need to come to terms with, you know. And this can be anything, you know. This can be family issues, this can be PTSD, this can be, you know, just your own internal dialogue that you need to come to terms with, or, you know, feelings and emotions that you internally have that you have to sit with and go, you know what, I don't think that these are good things. Like if you're sitting there, my former father-in-law, for an example, I absolutely love his spirit. He's a man. He's amazing. My former husband dated somebody of another ethnicity, and his father is very, I don't care who you are. And it was when he brought her home that my father-in-law had to realize, oh, okay, I have feelings and emotions. Now, my former husband didn't find this out for many years, because my father-in-law went to his daughter and said, listen, I have these feelings and emotions, and I know that they're not okay, so I'm going to keep this to myself, because at the end of the day, I have to sit here and internalize why, not internalize, but ask myself internally, why do I feel this way? Because I know it's not okay to feel that way. And in doing that, he healed himself and he grew. And for him, it just never mattered again. You see, that internal healing that, you know, you do inside of the Hermit while you're in, like, because you're going to be in this younger Page of Swords mode while you're healing through this pain. I mean, you're healing through this, okay? You're healing through this. I'm healing for this. And that's the whole point, because it's that healing that when it comes to it will bring you the world, and that world will bring you the staff, and the staff is given to you by the hand of God to help you with the forward movement that you need to help continuing to heal yourself. Because at the end of the day, it's growth, it's blossoming, it's nurturing, it's growing your garden internally that brings this world to you. I mean, the Queen of Wands, she's a grower. She knows how to plant things. She knows how to help them grow. She knows how to sustain them. She knows how to be good to the people around her. She knows how to be fair and just and not to take any crap. You know, she is not the person that's going to fall for the narcissist, because she has now seen too much, just like you have. Okay? And because she has come to the point within her emotion, and like I said, this can be male or female. Even as a male, you are going to move between your King and Queen of Wands, because your Queen of Wands, the emotion there is so much more gentler. And at this point, this is the gentle emotion you need, because you've had too much King of Wands. And it's okay to be strong like the King of Wands. We're all strong like the King of Wands, and it's important to be strong. But when you're healing, okay, when you are, where are we here? When you're here, okay, when you're in here, we're going to go like right here, okay? Let's see. Yes. When you're in here, it's important to be in your Queen of Wands. It's important because you were already in your Queen of Cups and sorrowful. You know, you were already in your Queen of Swords and angry and rushing through and trying to emotionally deal. You were already in your Queen of Coins, where you're just trying to figure it out, and how does this all work and how does it equate. And now you're at your Queen of Wands, where you're planting something new for the new you. For the new you who took the time to sit here and grow, so that you could have a better world for yourself. And it's almost like he was going insane in the song, because nothing ever changed. Nothing ever changed for the world. Sometimes we have to change ourselves internally in order then to change the world. Really, Spirit? Because we're bringing you back to you need to put your own mask on first. So sometimes you have to heal yourself before you can heal the rest of the world. You know, a therapist is a good therapist because they heal themselves, or they're in the process of healing themselves, you know. A nurse is a good nurse because same reason, you know, because you're healing yourself and you're getting better as you go, and you're learning and you're educating yourself, and in doing that, you know how to heal yourself and help yourself to have, you know, what you need. Maybe nursing wasn't quite the best equivalent. You get my point though. But someday that will be fixed. Actually, someday I'll have this desk refinished. This was my great Aunt Peg's desk. I love this desk so much. But yeah. I'm also being, you know, that part, some just want stir crazy, Lord. So I feel too, like, you know, be careful of extreme isolation, because that will drive you stir crazy. You know, make sure, you know, if you need a cat, you need a dog, get it, make sure you're taking care of it, yada yada yada. Tidy Cat Breeze litter system, I love it. Pee pads and pellets, scoop once a day, it's wonderful. Hello, little ladybug. I'm sorry, I got distracted by the ladybug. But yeah, it's that healing part that's important. When Spirit talks, and then like it all goes away. But yeah, you know, this is where you want to be. And yeah, because then you just go like right into your Emperor. And you go into your Emperor because you're looking at your past. it's this looking at your past that's so important. I mean, look at this. Looking at your past. And here's the Knight of Wands marching right in to look into his past because, yeah, I don't have any problem looking at my Ten of Swords. Oh, Lord. But all right, thank you, Spirit. Woo, being pushed forward again. Okay. It's like they're pushing me into the desk. Jesus started a political movement, not a religious movement. Your soul knows what's happening. This one came up twice. I never sank my head into my pillow until I met you. Okay, so, all right. So these definitely, hey puppy doggy, talk about, equate into what we're talking about here. So, well, you know what? I am cleaning these up because it just makes my life simpler. Sorry, Spirit, but there we are. So basically, you know, like we were talking about, nothing changed, just went stir crazy, Lord, because nothing ever changed. And you know how that seeing that nothing has ever changed just drives you crazy. And at some point we have to remember that, you know, as this card says, Jesus started a political movement, not a religious movement. It also has the song Three Wooden Crosses by Randy Travis on it, and Three Crosses. And then it seems to be the three crosses seem to be very important right now with Jesus in the middle of them. Because at the end of the day, you know, it's about the political movement that wars start. It's about the political movement that outlaws started. It's the political movement that the Civil War started. It's the political movements that are started. It's the political movements that are started, not the religious movements. Because, you know, down here in the song about Three Crosses, it talks about the people who were killed and the things that happened and this, that, and the other thing, and the Bible and the preacher and the whatnot. That's a religious movement right there. It's this love and this faith of handing something very special off, but that is not a political movement. And religion can only take one so far. And I say this as a Roman Catholic. I love my religion. I love being clairvoyant. I love learning about other religions because I do see so much commonality in them, and as a clairvoyant I get a lot in about everything. Yes. And the most important thing is understanding the separation of what is the religious movement, because a religious movement is where you say we're not walking in the footsteps of Jesus, we're not following what Jesus says for the modern times, we're actually going completely against it. And in that way we start a political movement, because the only way to walk in the steps of Jesus is to start a political movement, which is exactly what he started. And you know, what does this say? Your soul knows what's happening. And what did my mom say? It's not what you see and hear, it's what you say and do. You know, he went stir crazy because nothing changed. He went stir crazy because, you know, the political movement that should have been started was never started. And it was sure as heck wasn't started in time for them. You know, and at some point, it's not what you see and hear, it's what you say and do. It just failed for them. And I'm being told that, you know, with spiritual growth and all of that, you know, if you really want to sink your head into a pillow, you know, it's not that you need to find religion, you need to find yourself. And once you find yourself, that's when you create this movement, even if it's a movement within yourself. You know, because even within yourself, it's not what you hear and see, it's what you say and do. I mean, you can hear and see a lot inside of yourself, but it's what you physically do on the outside, because your soul knows. Your soul knows what you're doing, and your soul knows what's happening, because your soul has already set this life path. I mean, yeah, there are nooks and crannies that you can go off into, but you know, the soul knows, the shadow knows. Being shown the rules card, woofty, and judgment. And you know, I think too, a lot of that song is knowing that certain judgments should have been handed down that weren't. Hey, puppy dog. And I think too, that's what drove them crazy too. So as I've said, you know, Jesus started a political movement, not a religious movement. You know, I'm just listening and seeing if they have any more. I think they're tapering and petering out. Excuse me, my goodness, this is a burpy night. It's the peanuts. I should not be eating them without a gallbladder, but hey, here we are. So I think this is where we're going to leave you. Yeah, the Wheel of Fortune. Yeah. Yeah, because doing, healing yourself, and I'm not saying walking in the footsteps of Jesus. What I'm saying is basically what Jesus says is kindness. Just be kind. Be kind to yourself. This is basically the message of this is if you feel yourself feeling like Bill Doolin, if you feel yourself numbing out, if you feel this, what are they saying? There's a download coming in that is going to make me sneeze. Ugh, excuse me. I'm sorry. I apologize. Excuse myself. If you start feeling that way, hold on. Because you don't have to go the other way. You don't have to go the way of Bill Doolin and Bill Dalton. You can set yourself free. And by that, what I mean is in your way that you can, heal yourself. You know, and I don't want to sound passive aggressive when I say that, because healing is so hard. But any little bit of healing you do will help you fly and see forward. Any little bit of healing you do will keep the snakes down. Any little bit of healing you do will help you see on top of this wheel, and it will bring you into victory. And see, there are two people here, so I see a friend. I don't see this as a sign of marriage. I see this as a sign of healing. And actually, these two people could be the two people within yourself. your own god and your own goddess. Because you build your own castles, remember? And remember, when you're building your own castle, don't build your wall so high that, you know, you shrink down in, because that's not good either. You know, the one thing I always say is it's always okay to go to the campground and sit for a little bit and roast some marshmallows and contemplate life and grieve and be sorrowful or whatever it is that you need to do. But eventually you need to get up from the campground and go back into the house and do some dishes, because just life has to keep going. And that's something that as you're healing becomes easier to do. So I think that's what I've got for you today. And we send you great healing. And if you're still here, we thank you. And don't forget to like and subscribe. I do see you having victory in this. I really do. I do think that you can do this. And remember, nothing is ever perfect. Nothing is ever perfect. You're not looking for perfection. You're not looking for perfection. You're looking to find who you are in your own space, in your own time. Okay? So, anywho, be good, behave, be happy, and be yourself.